Now even more guests can enjoy cake at your birthday celebration with my gluten-free Funfetti cake. And you won't have to compromise on delicious flavor or sprinkles. This moist, flavorful cake uses almond flour and tapioca flour and is naturally sweetened with honey and applesauce. The cream cheese frosting is made with sweet potatoes and maple syrup, and it's perfect for piping and decorating without any powdered sugar. And speaking of frosting, you do not have to be a pro cake decorator because neither am I. You're gonna love these simple techniques that will make us both look like pros. And as a bonus at the end of this video, I'll show you a sugar comparison between a traditional birthday cake and our recipe. To make the cream cheese sweet potato frosting, you're gonna start with 2 medium sweet potatoes, and then we'll simply peel them. And you'll notice that the inside of the sweet potato is this creamy white color, which is super important. So make sure you don't buy the yams that have a darker orange color, or else your frosting will have that color as well. Once peeled, you'll want to slice them in about 1/2-inch pieces. My favorite way to steam them is just using a little steamer basket inside of my medium saucepan. And then you just fill it with water until it barely reaches the bottom of the basket. And then we just dump our sweet potatoes right inside. And then I'll cover it with a lid and I'll put it over a medium to high heat for about 16 minutes or until the sweet potatoes are fork tender. Here are some sweet potatoes that I steamed earlier, and you'll want them to cool before you start making your frosting. So we're just gonna add 2 cups of cubed steamed sweet potatoes to our food processor. As our sweetener, we're going to add 1/3 cup of maple syrup. And then we'll add 4 ounces of cream cheese, or 1/2 of a block. And then you'll want to add about 2 tablespoons of milk. I'm just using some almond milk. And 1 teaspoon of lemon juice to enhance that cream cheese flavor. And just a dash of salt. Now we're gonna blend this on high until it's all nice and smooth. And now we have this fluffy and creamy frosting that's perfect for piping on our cake. Now for a pinky test. That has the perfect amount of sweetness that isn't overpowering, and we didn't use any powdered sugar. Now we're gonna transfer our frosting to a separate bowl. And after tasting it, if it's not quite sweet enough, go ahead and add another tablespoon of maple syrup. Now I'll go ahead and store this in the fridge until we're ready to frost our cake. This recipe makes enough batter for 3 6-inch rounds, 2 8-inch rounds, or a 9 by 12. To prepare our pans, we want to line them with parchment paper. And I have these 6-inch rounds that I purchased just on Amazon. But of course, you could cut your own from a roll of parchment paper. We'll want to give them a quick spray with some non-stick. And they are ready to go. To make our batter, we're gonna start with our wet ingredients, which is 4 eggs plus 2 egg whites, 2/3 a cup of applesauce, 1/2 a cup of honey, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and 1/4 of a teaspoon of almond extract. And I just use the lid. Now I want to give this a good stir with our whisk just until all the eggs are incorporated. That smells delicious. For our dry ingredients, we're gonna add 2.5 cups of almond flour, 2/3 of a cup of tapioca flour. Then we'll add 3 teaspoons of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then we'll mix this until it's all incorporated. And now for the sprinkles. I'm using these gluten-free sprinkles that do not have any artificial food coloring in them. And I included a link below if you'd like to check them out. I'm gonna add 1/3 a cup of sprinkles and then give that a gentle stir. And now we'll simply pour our batter evenly between all 3 pans. I like to line them up so that I can drip right across as I pour in the batter. Then I'm just gonna eyeball it to make sure they all have an even amount. And now these will go into a 350-degree oven for about 27 to 30 minutes, or until a toothpick comes out clean. Once your cakes come out of the oven, you'll want to let them cool before you start frosting. I have 3 cakes I cooked earlier that I've allowed to cool. And so now we can start assembling our birthday cake. And I highly recommend getting a cake turntable. It really makes this easier, and they're not that expensive. I included a link below to a really simple kit you might like. So we'll begin by removing the parchment paper that was underneath the cake, and then placing our first layer right in the center. And it has these circular guides to make that easy on us. And then to help us apply the same amount of frosting between the layers, I'm going to use my medium cookie scoop. And I'm just going to scoop on 3 scoops of frosting. Okay, 3 generous scoops of frosting. Now I'll take our spatula. This where it becomes real nifty having this turntable that you can spin as you frost. And it makes you feel like a pro. Now we'll apply our second layer and do the exact same thing. And now for the top layer, make sure that goes on nice and even so we don't have a leaning tower cake. So I'll repeat the same steps as before. Now we want to apply a crumb coat to the outside of the cake so that we really look like we know what we're doing. So we're just going to take some frosting and simply apply it to the side. And this is meant to just fill in all those little holes and crevices and to pull up any of the loose crumbs. Now we don't want to put this spatula back into the frosting with all those crumbs. So we're going to use a separate spatula to get the frosting onto our spatula. So just go like this. And then this spatula gets to stay in the frosting. Once we have all of our holes filled in, we can give it one last round to scoop up any excess frosting. Well, I think this looks great. So we're going to put this in the freezer for about 10 minutes and allow that frosting to set. Well, I just got the cake out of the freezer. It's been there for about 10 minutes, so now we can continue frosting. So now we're going to go ahead and apply our a little bit thicker outer layer. With our spatula, we'll just apply some frosting and then turn our little turntable and smooth the frosting all the way down to the bottom. I love how just kind of thick and smooth this frosting is. It makes it so easy to work with. Now, if you're someone who really likes to put on a lot of frosting, you might want to make 1.5 batches of the frosting recipe, just to make sure you have enough. Now that I think I have a pretty even coating around the whole thing, I'll go ahead and just hold my spatula upright and try to even this out a little bit more. All right, I think this looks great. Now we can leave this as is or make it a little extra fancy with this cool little scraper. So this is going to make some little grooves all the way around the cake. So I'm just going to position it, stick it into my frosting just barely, angle it, and then very steadily turn our turntable to create these really cool little grooves in our frosting. All right, that is really fun. Before we go any further, I want to transfer this to our cake plate. So I'm just going to take my nice big spatula here. Okay, we can do this. And we'll just slide this cake right onto the center of our plate. Oh boy. Yes, we got it. Now, I'm not too concerned about the fact that our frosting doesn't go all the way to the bottom because we're about to add our sprinkles and they're going to camouflage it for us. So first, I'm going to lay a towel down on my surface to help catch any runaway sprinkles. Then we're going to take our sprinkles right here and basically we're just going to pour some out right next to the cake, about 2 inches from the bottom. So we'll definitely be adding the fun and celebration to our cake. And then we can even gently tilt it to the side to help get some up onto the cake. Kind of lift and scoosh. That was scoosh a word. So now I'll go ahead and give it just a little tap to let the extra sprinkles come off onto our towel. Okay, perfect. And now we can recycle all of these sprinkles. Now to add even more color to our cake, we want to go ahead and add some sprinkles to the top. So we'll just gently go around and sprinkle these up here. Fun contrast between the colorful sprinkles and the light creamy color of our cake. This also helps hide any imperfections. Give those a little squish. Well, we could stop here, but I think we need to add some little towers of frosting around on the top of the cake. So all we need is a piping bag as well as a piping tip. And I have found that if we just drop the tip down inside the bag, and then we use that to determine where to cut the bag so that the tip can extend out. There we go, that looks great. Now we just need to get some frosting inside the bag. Go ahead and use our cookie scoop. Now we just shake our bag down, and then we just fold down the top of the bag. To make our little frosting tower, we're going to go in a circular motion and then lift right at the end to make that cute little tip. Okay, we can do this. Here we go. Make a nice big circle and lift. Oh, look how cute that is. So now I'm going to do another one on the opposite side. I'm going to turn this 90 degrees and then I'm going to split the center here and do another one. Nice big circle. Lift. Nice, now go ahead and just fill in these extra spots with 4 more little towers. Okay, last one. On the home stretch, we're almost there. There we go. That looks fantastic. It's fun and festive and ready for a celebration. Now collecting all of our extra sprinkles is a breeze using this towel. Then we can just easily pour it all back into our container. Our cake is so beautiful, I don't want to cut into it, but I'm gonna go ahead and sample a cake that I made earlier with our moist cake and those couple layers of frosting, and then we get some sprinkles on top. That is delicious. I can taste happy birthday. It has all those classic flavors that you love in a funfetti cake. You get the lightly sweetened cake with that little bit of honey and applesauce that just has a delicious flavor. And then you get that creamy frosting that isn't overpoweringly sweet with all that powdered sugar, but just has this really pleasant creamy flavor to it. And then you get the little crunch of the sprinkles. That is absolutely delicious. And now for the sugar comparison. 1 slice of a traditional birthday cake has roughly 64 grams of sugar, which is equal to about 16 sugar cubes. A slice of my cake recipe has about 18 grams of sugar, which is equal to about 4.5 sugar cubes. And I painted them brown just to represent the fact that they are natural sweeteners. Now this cake is clearly the healthier option, but it is still a sweet and needs to be eaten in moderation. Having far less sugar certainly makes it more appealing to me, and it would be great as like a baby's first birthday or any other celebration where there might be some dietary restrictions. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today in my kitchen, and if you'd like to see the recipe card for this video, go to my website, gentletummy.com. And I also invite you to like and subscribe to my channel. And if you know someone who would love to have a healthier birthday cake option, please share this video with them. And I cannot wait to have you join me in my kitchen again next time.